All right, here we go. We're back. Episode 5. There's been a rebranding after much investigation. Jack has made a very wise decision. Moving forward, we will be the Paradox of Sports podcast. Episode 5 with Jack and I. This is episode 1 of the rebranding, if you will. The Paradox of Sports. Hello, Jack. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
How's things in Southeast Colorado?
It's fine.
Any news on any baseball or anything you're going to get a start soon, or are you all still on hold?
Like a couple months ago, I heard that we're gonna continue playing baseball in mid-May, and I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. Hopefully, it does. So, hope for the best.
That's why I am hoping for the best, man. I hope you guys get to get out and do a little sports here in the summer. Now, while we have been off a little bit the last week since the draft, you guys have booked us a guest. So tell us a little bit about who we are going to be speaking with today.
Yes. The reason we have CSU-Pueblo Thunderbolts in our background is because our special guest, Rams defensive end Morgan Fox. One fun fact about him is that he scored a safety in his second year of his career on Jacoby Brissett. 2 or 3 years before Jacoby Brissett scored not great pass, because we're Broncos fans and it was against the Broncos, so
where we like to see Brissett sacked is what you're saying.
Yes.
That was something good for us. Well, cool. We have the interview coming up, so we'll get to that here shortly. But first, we have not spoke since the draft. So real quick recap. How do you think how did we do coming out of that?
I think we did pretty well. A thing that surprised me is that we took 2 consecutive wide receivers before relying on, I think it was Lloyd Cushenberry. And I think these 3, Judy, the first receiver, Jerry Judy, the second receiver, KJ Hamler, and the third receiver, not the third receiver, and the other guard, Lloyd Cushenberry, they would be good in the offense that the Broncos have right now.
Now, I was a little worried. I think Elway's a little spooked by the Chiefs. Like, I think we're chasing points pretty hard, and I'm very I have high expectations for Locke, but it doesn't matter what we have on the outside receiver wise. If Locke's on his back the whole game, I think we got to do something with our offensive line, or I think that we're going to get Drew Lock killed.
Well, probably. So we have Lloyd Cushenberry, and he's going to help. He plays guard and center, so those defensive tackles better watch out. They're probably not going to get many sacks when they're up against Lloyd Cushenberry. So I think Drew Lock is safe on the interior, needs some work on the exterior, but overall, with the Drew Lock's receivers, I think he'll be able to make some passes. And also at Missouri, he ran the ball well, so don't be surprised if Drew Lock runs for a touchdown in like 2 or 3 consecutive games.
Okay, yeah, I'm like I said, I'm optimistic. I think they're going to be fun to watch. It's a lot more fun when your team's trying to score points and you try to go in there and blow somebody out. It's just I don't know. I don't know about keeping Locke healthy for the whole year, but time will tell. So we'll figure that out. What about the overall appearance of the draft? What about the kids in the houses? Goodell, in the basement. How did you think all that went?
I think for the first go, it went pretty well, even though you had the kids in the basement and people being drafted in their basements. It was still good. The kids that appeared, for example, Adam Gase's kids, it was them and his dog. So it may seem like there was a little bit of raucousness and hold on, what am I thinking? But they didn't cause that much havoc. So I think it was pretty good with the kids. Now with Roger Goodell in the basement, I liked how they used cheering from different teams into the thing. But the only two things that didn't go so well were, the first one was that it was about the analysts on each draft pick. They were a little late ever since like the 4th or 5th round. So, and the other thing I thought, so they were planning to do the what's it called? The like boos. You know how you boo the commissioner?
Yeah. Well, I booed him. From the couch every time he do, and then I would let a boo go.
They were supposed to have the boos then like recorded from different things. I think it went well, but there was some like technical difficulties with that, while there weren't that many technical difficulties with the draft overall. And that may seem like a minor thing with the technical difficulties for the boos. I wanted the boos to be nice and clean so Roger Goodell could clearly hear them. But overall, that was a good draft.
Yeah, and I like I said, I was excited. It's cool to see. I like the criers. I'm not gonna lie. I like the guys that get picked and they break down a little bit, especially the big guys, the big offensive linemen, the defensive linemen, the tackles and stuff. I like to see the emotion. So I thought overall for what the NFL had to work with, I think it went well. All right. Well, I think it's time. Should we go ahead and introduce the guest and do our first ever interview? See how it goes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, here we go.
Introducing Rams defensive end, Morgan Fox.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Oh, no trouble. We're going to get things started. The first question for the first interview on the Sports Paradox podcast is going to be asked by our boy Jack. Take it away, Jack.
Okay. So the first question is, when did you learn you wanted to play football?
Oh, man. My dad got me interested in playing football when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, just playing catch in the backyard. And I just always had fun doing it. And then all my friends were playing it and, playing pick-up football. I lived on military bases growing up, so everyone would go to the park and play football somehow. So it was always a game to be played.
What would be your earliest memory that you have of like an organized football game? How far back do you remember?
Like organized officially, I remember playing flag football when I moved to Colorado when I was in about third grade-ish. That was like my first real organized football outside of, playing with my cousins or my uncles.
Did you do a lot of was there a lot of different sports? I'm going to assume, you leave school 6'4", 260. So you're an athletic dude. So was that something from your whole life? Like, were you playing all the sports?
I kind of ran the gauntlet on sports. I played football every year since organized football every year since, third grade. And then moving around a bunch, I wrestled, I played lacrosse, I played baseball, and I ran track for a year. By ran, I jumped. I'm not really much of a runner.
Okay. So, I mean, just fast forward and we'll bounce around a little bit. Kids Jack's age, the 10 and 11-year-olds that are in the sports now. I assume it's changed a lot even from when you were younger. I'm 40, and it's darn sure changed a lot for me on the specialty of everything and the traveling teams and the money and the everything that's going on. Do you see it as is this something important for those 10 and 11-year-olds to be playing as many sports as possible?
I wholeheartedly believe doing as many sports as possible is good for you, at least at a young age, just because there's so many things you learn that can translate and help you from one sport to another that you don't even realize, like I wrestled. I also, I forgot to put in there, I did judo and martial arts and jiu-jitsu for a while. My stepfather got me into judo, and I really enjoyed it. And I feel like that was a big helping, for me to be a NFL player and a good defensive end. And I think I was done with judo going into my, sophomore year of high school. That was the last time I stepped out on the mat for that. And, I still have, things just from doing that I know how to be a better football player from, and I think that different sports also gives you a chance to not get burnt out at such a young age. I have, friends and stuff, people I know that wrestled for their whole lives. That's all they did year round, and by the time they get done with wrestling, they don't ever want to wrestle again. They don't even want to be around it,
Yeah, I had a friend, it's actually Jack's dad and I, growing up, Matt actually wrestled with the kid. He was a stud, but he wrestled from the time he was 4 or 5 years old. His sophomore year, I believe we're in high school, sophomore year, he goes undefeated, or he'd lost once, but he ended up beating a kid that won state the year before. He beats the kid, and he quit. He played basketball with us next year, and in talking to him, he didn't want to do it anymore. Like it was, you know what I mean? He was ready to try something different.
I think people, especially young kids, can get burnt out just from playing sports, the same sport all the time. And, unfortunately, I don't have kids, so I can't really speak on it, but you do see those parents that push their kids a little too much into the sport and forget, at 10, 11, 12 years old, no one's going to college yet. There's not a scout from USC at a game, to let the kids still enjoy it. And it's a game. It's fun. Let it be fun until it doesn't need to be fun anymore.
Yeah, and that's my old man coached there in Southeast Colorado for a long time, little small schools, 1A, 2A schools. And one of the things he talked about is if you're good enough, they're going to find you. Like the schools all the way up. I mean, if you can play, there's a coach or a recruiter somewhere, they're going to find you and they're going to talk to you.
100%. Especially in this day and age with social media and how easy it is to get your hands on film and highlight tapes and everything like that. I think until a certain point, young kids just need to be let to enjoy any game, not just football, any sport. Because you never know. You might be pushing a kid too hard to play football, and they might be a basketball player. I was talking to my girlfriend's family friend last night. His son was a baseball player through and through all the way until high school. Didn't make the team his freshman year for baseball, and then went and tried out for lacrosse, and then it became his favorite sport. So
yeah, we've seen lacrosse grow. I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with it. I think it was DU won a national title a few years back, and I know with my brother in Denver, you've seen lacrosse kind of explode just on the sports scene for kids, and that's given them something more to do.
Oh yeah, it's a great sport. I mean, I grew up in the Army, but I lived in Virginia for probably the longest time, and lacrosse out there is huge. That's a hotbed for lacrosse. So being able to learn it out there and then come out to Colorado and see where it was, growing as a sport, and it's now, a powerhouse of lacrosse is pretty cool.
So growing up, you get to Fountain Fort Carson. Mm-hmm. When did you do all your high school there?
No. So I did 2 years in Virginia at Potomac High School, and then I moved in with my dad my junior year of high school, and that's when I went to Fountain.
Gotcha. So at that point, had you focused a little more on football? Like, did you know that that's what you wanted to have take you somewhere, or were you still kind of doing everything?
To be honest with you, I was very frustrated with football. Coming from Virginia, I was frustrated with myself, frustrated with football kind of as a whole. I really enjoyed lacrosse. So when I moved in with my dad, I still loved football, but in my head, it wasn't really like, the mechanism that was going to propel me forward in life. It was just something I was doing. I was going to graduate, have good grades, graduate, go to college off good grades, try to do as much as I could, and see where that took me. But moving back to Colorado, moving with my dad was, football guy through and through, loved it. Got me in with, at Fountain, I started working out with the guys and Coach Johnson. And it just kind of like rekindled like a spark back in me for the love of the game. And, got to a point they had a spot open on the defensive line. And I'd always played linebacker and safety my whole life. And I was like, I could probably be a D lineman. I'll try it out at least. It's an open spot. And so my junior year, I tried out for it. And luckily I was like fortunate enough to be naturally blessed at the position, and it worked out.
So going through Fountain Fort Carson, when did you first either get approached or hear about CSU-Pueblo? Like, how did that come about?
So I got approached my senior year. Coach Creighton was the coach who recruited me real heavy out of Pueblo. He got in touch with me first, and he loved me. He was always raving about me. And so he got in touch with me first, and then I was kind of going through, the whole gauntlet of recruiting. I had a crazy recruiting thing. I was an undersized 17-year-old senior. And I thought I was going to Colorado the whole time. I had a really good camp at Colorado. The coaches really liked me. My ACT score was really high, so they really liked me up there. And things just didn't work out for one reason or another. So I honestly was going to go to Northern Colorado. They offered me a full ride, but they had over-offered, so they ended up pulling their offer. And Pueblo had just been saying the right things, and I really fell in love with their process, how they went about things, and how it was about winning. It was about doing things the right way, but at the end of the day, it wasn't about winning.
Now, you talked there about your ACT score, and that's something this is important, Jack, right here. So if you're if you are the badass and you get the offers, the D1 offers, how important is that academic stuff? Like at what point, how good do you have to be for that not to matter? I guess would be my question.
Oh, that's such a hard question, because I think it has very weird answers, because I'm a big proponent of being smart, and your grades are important. Your brain's going to carry you a lot farther than your legs will in your life. There are definitely guys who are way more talented athletically than they are academically. But from what I can tell you as a player, being smart pays off just as much on the field as it does off the field. And at the end of the day in college, if you don't have the right grades, you can't play. So if you're not passing class, you don't get to go on the field. Gotcha.
So you end up in Pueblo. Before we delve football too much in Pueblo, so you ended up, did you redshirt, or were you there? Was it 4 years or 5 years?
I was 4 years. I was a true freshman.
Gotcha. So you come in 4 years. Jack, I know, looking over the stuff, you had a couple Pueblo questions. So what's one of the Pueblo questions you want to ask?
Okay. I took a bite of paper for some reason. I'm not sure why. So the next question, where did you like to eat in college?
Oh.
It may seem an out of the ordinary question, but. Okay.
No, I like it. I was a frequenter of anywhere with a breakfast burrito, but I was a big fan of Adolfo's, as most kids in Pueblo are. And when it was Monica's, I think it's Los Carnales now, that was right by where we lived. So those are kind of my two spots to go to down there. And any pizza spot down there, I would go to every pizza spot. We used to get pizza every Wednesday during season. So we would hit most of the pizza spots around town, just try a new one all the time.
Were you a Dewdrop fan?
That's the one place I never got to.
Okay, it's a real sweet crust. My wife does not like it. I don't mind it, but most people it's love or hate. So,
That's
but
what I've heard.
it's a real sweet, real
I'm
sweet.
I'm a real like traditional pizza guy. Pepperoni,
Okay.
black olives, and I don't need too much other than that.
So, when you get to Pueblo when you're a freshman, the program had some success, but I mean you guys built it. I've only been down to maybe 2 games. I listen to Jim and Joe on the radio.
Mhm.
I really love listening and taking in the football that way. But from when you first got there, then to when you leave, how much did the program change? How much did that part of town change? And just like, how did everything grow?
That's a good question. So I think when we got there, the classes in front of us definitely built a lot, and it's a big credit to Risto and what they did from 2008 on, to build a successful program that fast. That first year they went, they had a winning season. I think they went 9-2. And then the next year they make the playoffs. They win the RMAC undefeated, beat West Texas, and then lose in the playoffs. High hopes losing the playoffs. So I think, people wanted to see us go farther than the first round. Because Pueblo's a football town. You look at the Bell game, anything like that, you'll know it's a football town. And so we knew we had the support, but we knew we had to kind of like really dig and win if we wanted a packed house. And so we kind of like dug down as a group, and we were a very, very tight knit group. The class in front of us and all the way to the class that graduated after me. I mean, we were so tight and interchangeable. We were all basically the same class, So we kind of took it upon ourselves and made the culture from having the coaches hold us accountable to the players more or less ran the team, and not in a inmates are running the prison kind of sense, but we kept everyone together. We were a team, we were a unit, we worked together, and we changed the culture to the fact that we would fight for each other. We would do everything that we needed to do to win, and we would not let someone else, cost the team.
Was that something that came from Riston down on the? I mean, when you're in a leadership role and you're overseeing people, there's guys that are going to micromanage you into the dirt, and there's other guys that just set the expectations and is like, this is what I want done, and then they leave the room.
I actually think it was 100% from Riston down, and because Coach Risto, he hired the right guys, and Coach Risto really wasn't too much of a micromanager. He definitely let his coaches coach, and they set the standard so high when we got there. We knew what it was. There was never a misconception on what we needed to do and how we were supposed to work. And the coaches instilled that in the veteran players, and the veteran players instilled that in the younger guys. So when the veteran players graduated, my freshman year, you have a bunch of studs all graduate. Guys who have been there for 4 years, that kind of rock solid class they all graduate, and a bunch of us had to step up into leadership roles and take over, but there really was no changing of the guard because we already knew what the standard was.
Nice. So that's how you build a program, and then you just keep rolling the pieces in and out of there. I think it's a testament to Riston too that he has stayed there. There's been a couple times on a couple jobs that have come open that, I mean, I know he's had a bag dangled in front of him, but he, you know what I mean? I mean, when you win, yeah.
He's a Pueblo guy.
All right, Jack, what's next?
Okay. Which NFL players influenced you?
Oh, man. A lot of them. I would say it's really crazy. My junior year, when Coach Creighton left, and one of my old teammates told me, like, hey, if you really want to get better, you should watch this guy's film. And I was like, which guy in the NFL? And he said, all right, this guy going into the NFL, you should really watch tape. And I was like, which guy are you talking about? He said, this guy out of Pitt. He said, Aaron Donald. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh,
So,
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, I'll watch his tape. And I watched him play, and I was like, wow, this guy's incredible. He's an awesome player. I watched a lot of Justin Houston play. Guys like that I tried to emulate. I obviously knew I wasn't them, but tried to, be a technician like they were and play the game the same way they did. And then fast forward a couple years, and then I go to the Rams, and I'm playing alongside the guy whose tape I was watching to try to get better. So I definitely look up to, AD a lot. He's a real good guy, and if you ever need to ask him a question on technique, he's there for you. And I got, Michael Brockers has been a huge help to me since I've been in the NFL. He's one of my best friends now, and just he's helped me professionally grow as a man, grow as a professional. And my rookie year, Will Hayes kind of took me under his wing and, showed me how to practice, showed me like the expectations of the game and how to do things on the field as well as off the field, be a good person, a good humanitarian as well as, being a good player.
There were a couple games that kind of, you say that it shaped the program. So I'm trying to backtrack. So 14, you're a junior that year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the year before then, that's when you guys went to Greeley, and it was a good game, a competitive game, but you guys go up there and get the win. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, are you bussing from Pueblo? Like, are you guys driving up there?
Oh yeah, we bus everywhere. I think we didn't bus. We didn't bus to the national championship, and we didn't bus to Sam Houston State. We're the only
Okay, and that's the one I want to talk about next. That, in my opinion, that's even cooler. For me, that was cooler than the national championship game because you guys went down there and smashed them. And it was Jim and Joe's radio call was fun. Like, everything about that day was awesome because I think they were 15, maybe, something like that. And yeah. I mean, you dismantled them. But I will ask you about that in a minute. But I want to go back to the Greeley one. Okay. So when you guys go up there, was there a chip on your shoulder, like, to go up and get a D1 program and beat them?
Oh, 100%. We had a chip on our shoulder. I will say all the time. Like, that is something, we had. They never had an issue with having to push us forward. It was more of an issue of trying to rein us back from running off the cliff. We weren't not saying we were, aggressive and always trying to fight and stuff, but we weren't backing down from anyone. And we were getting real tired of people, talking about how we were undersized playing other teams that, outside of the RMAC, we couldn't beat guys. And, we got lucky beating West Texas when we did. So, we put it kind of in our own heads too. Like, if we want to win a national championship, we have to be able to beat teams like Northern Colorado that are Division I, AA programs. So, we go up there and, they were up, 16-0, I think, at one point on us.
Yeah.
And we never panicked. And I think that was the game we realized, like, we can really just depend on each other and things are going to work itself out. We're down 16-0. No one panics. Our defense makes a bunch of plays. Offense gets the ball, makes a bunch of big plays. And then, we're back in this game that a lot of people had already counted us out. And Risto's favorite thing to say, is just put your head down for 60 minutes and go to work and look up at the end and see where you're standing. And we were fortunate at the end of it to hold on and beat a team. And that kind of pushed us forward from like, oh, okay, like, we're good to, oh, we know we're good.
So how much fun is the bus ride back to Pueblo then that night?
Oh, the bus rides were always fun. But that night it was a little special because we knew we talked about it for a little bit. So
then you go to 14, and then you guys fly down Sam Houston State. I don't remember exactly how the scoring went, but I remember it wasn't close.
It was 47-21 or 42-21.
Yeah, and it wasn't as close as the score makes it sound. Like, you guys destroyed them. So was that fun? Oh, when I tell you that's in my top 3 favorite games in Pueblo history. I mean, that whole trip, it's awesome playing Texas football teams because their fans are so ride or die for their teams. And you go down there and,
and you guys don't have a chance. Everyone was writing us off. And, they were a great team. You look at them, I think they lost to North Dakota State that year when they had Carson Wentz by a touchdown in the semis or in the
Yes.
fourth, one of the two. So that was a really talented program. So we go down there. It's hot. It's muggy, Texas weather. We get there. We're the little D2 team. We pull up. We're warming up, and their fans are letting us have it. They have the rosters. They're making fun of us. They called us Air Force rejects, and that one hurt. They were letting us have it. They had my name. They were calling me Megan Fox the whole game. Their student section's right behind our bench. And, we're at Pueblo, and we have a great turnout, most games, but we don't have 15,000 fans filling up a stadium. So their whole stadium's there going nuts. They fire off the cannon to start the game, and then we just let them have it. We went out there, and we just kind of hammered them. We put a chip on our shoulder that we're going to beat these guys, and we're not going to at the end of this game, no one's going to talk about D1, D2. Like, people are going to look at us and be like, oh, who are those guys?
And that really set the table then for that whole season.
What's crazy is I think the loss to Fort Lewis set the table for the whole season. But that game let us know how good we really were. And that if we played how we were supposed to play football, no one could touch us.
So the Fort Lewis loss, does it piss you off? Does it change your focus? That shouldn't have happened.
No, but it was humbling, because you come off of whooping a talented program like Sam Houston. You go in, you struggle against, Western played us really tough, and we got out of there. And then, we go to Fort Lewis, and we think we're going to run this team over, like we have every year. And, rain delay, people can say what they want. We didn't play our best football. We had chances to win the game. We didn't win the game. And so that kind of made us as leaders, shift. What was really impressive is as leaders on the team, no one pointed the blame anywhere outside of what they could control. We said, what, at the end of this, it doesn't matter what coaches do, how coaches coach, how anything happens. What matters is how we respond and what we do as players. And most of our leaders were our bigger time players, are more of our impact players. So we sat down and we told our guys, like, hey, we're not losing again. Our back's against the wall. We lose again, we don't make the playoffs. And, it kind of put us against the wall. And then from that point on, we rolled a lot of teams up. Games that people thought were going to be close, we rolled over teams. And so we it definitely pissed us off, but it definitely refocused us. And we set a whole new standard as a team, and we just started getting after people. The D-line started taking more pride in how they played and how, hey, let's change games. Let's not leave it up to, let's not put all the pressure on our DBs. Let's help them out. Our linebackers just started bringing it and laying hats on people, and we just started playing really good ball.
Was it still, like I said, it's been a long time since I was in school down there, but did you still hate Mesa? Is that?
We don't like Mesa, but we hate Adams.
Okay, so it was Adams State was the one that within the RMAC and then the state that you guys just did not do well with.
Oh, I can't stand Adams State. And it's just bred into me. It's not, it's not. It's just what it is. I don't like the green weenies.
My wife has her teaching degree from there, but we won't talk about that. So that's okay. But okay, so you talked.
Don't like the green weenies.
Okay. You talk about the three games there in school. I'm going to assume the national championship, though. That's number one.
Natty's number two.
Okay, what's number one?
West Georgia.
Okay, why?
Because to us, that felt like the national championship game. We went into the national championship game, and they were a great team. They played us tough, but we won 13-0. We played very well on defense, and our offense played good enough to win the game. And we were in control of that game for most of the game. The West Georgia game, they had us on the ropes for 3 quarters. We're down 3-7, or 3-6, whatever the score was the whole game. Fourth quarter comes around, we run a trick play out of, it's like something out of a movie, out of a script. A trick play, wide open down the middle for a touchdown, and then the defense holds them, and the fans storm the field, and we felt like we were invincible that night. And that was the toughest team I played in college. Was West Georgia. They were physical, they were fast, they were tough, they talked trash, which I loved it. And they came to play ball. And then after the game, they were, super respectful, and it was a battle of warriors the whole game.
All right, Jack, what's next?
Okay. How did you prepare for college in middle school and high school?
Middle school, I didn't prepare whatsoever. Maybe academically, I would say, just keeping good grades. But, I wasn't even thinking about college football in middle school. I was just enjoying, wrestling, playing football, at the time playing baseball. And then in high school, up until my junior year, it wasn't really on my radar. Like I said, I was really more probably prepared academically than I was athletically. But then once college kind of became a very real possibility, my dad helped me work out a lot. I started training at places like Athletic Republic with, the coach Ben there, who's actually now the strength coach at Fountain Fort Carson. So we kind of worked together for a long time, and he helped me out a lot with my speed and basically learning how to not run like a deer and trip over my own feet. And so after that, I just kind of worked out hard, and going into college, they would send us a workout packet, and I took it to my dad, that summer going in, and or that spring, and he was helping me work out with the lifts, and he would push me a little bit harder. Being in the military, he kind of knew how to push you through some endurance stuff that kind of sucked a lot, and make you mentally tough. And then in the summer, I started working out with the team as soon as I could. So I would go and do the summer workouts every morning, and then that helped me a lot as well.
So how do I want to say this? A small school kind of chip on your shoulder. So you go through, you're done, your senior year's over. You go undrafted. Were you expecting to go undrafted, or did you think someone would get you, or what was that process right there like?
So I had some rumblings from teams saying that they were really considering drafting me. It was going to be later. I had no premonition or no misconception that it was going to be within the first 2 days. I knew no matter what happened, my name was going to be called on the third day, whether it was drafted or undrafted. The Chargers at the time were calling me a bunch, and they had told me, I talked to them, I think the second most behind the Redskins. And the Chargers had called me a bunch and said, we're really considering drafting you. It's going to be a later pick, but we're really considering it. Obviously, it didn't go that way. I'd heard from, a couple other teams here and there that, you're up there. Draft day comes around, that last draft, it was just a whole crazy day. The Rams call me, the scout who had talked to me calls me and says, "Hey, stay by your phone. We don't know what we're doing with this pick. Things keep going. I don't go drafted." And then the Rams do end up calling with about 30 minutes after the draft, and they offer me a free agent walk on, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll go there. Worst case scenario, with the talent they have, I'll learn so much from the coach and the players. If I don't stick there, I go to another team, I'll have learned enough that I can go somewhere else and earn a job. So that's kind of how that whole process went.
So are you working with an agent at that point, or are you on your own, or?
No, you have an agent. It's usually right when you graduate, after you're done with football, a bunch of agents reach out to you and try to get you to work with them and go do that, and they help be your representation through it because they have the connections and everything within the NFL.
Okay, so I imagine that's probably a pretty important step. So who's are you talking with Dad or Coach Riston, or how are you going about choosing what guy you want to have?
every step of the way for picking an agent. You know, he has a real good judge of character, so I made him come with me. And then I talked to, Antoine Burton trained me when I was down in Pueblo, and, I took in his opinion. I look up to him as a mentor, almost like a big brother. So I'm asking him questions, and kind of just bouncing them off, and that's kind of how I chose it based who I went with at the time.
So when you get to the league, is there a group of guys I keep referring to it as Division II. I don't even know if CSU-Pueblo is Division II. Whatever that division is there a group of guys? Is there a chip on your shoulder when you get to the league and you're playing, when you're going up against guys that are the SEC, the Big Ten, that group? I mean, is there some camaraderie with the smaller school guys?
I would say, like, with the small school guys, we understand each other, because the funniest thing is when you tell people how things were at D2, they're like, there's no way. Like, that's not how a college experience is. And then you have your other D2 buddies come in like, no, that's how it went. That's how it worked. And so having, like, other small school guys around was real cool. And at the time, the Rams, I think, had the most Division II guys on their roster. And so a lot of us knew each other, and we were, talking and joking around. And I wouldn't say it puts a chip on your shoulder so much as, like, I'm going against D1 guys. That was more of a college thing. Like, when I was in college, I had already kind of gotten past that because of playing, like the Sam Houstons in the Northern Colorados. But it was more of I'm undrafted and you're drafted. Now I'm going to make – I'm going to show why I should have been drafted. Like, that just in my eyes, it put a bigger target on someone's back for being a draft pick.
So it's not necessarily if you're blown by a guy that was a offensive tackle at Auburn, it's not so much that you're blown by a guy from Auburn. It's just you're blown by a guy that was a first round draft pick.
Yeah,
more so.
Yeah, and that was also instilled in me by, like, the vets that were with the Rams at the time. Because we would do our OTAs, our off-season stuff, and I would win rushes, at practice. I'd beat a guy with a rush and get a sack or something. And when we would watch tape, one of the vets turned around and be like, that dude's been in the league for 9 years. That guy was a first-round pick. That guy was a third-round pick. Like, the vets we had at the time did an amazing job of always encouraging you to never feel like you didn't belong on the field. And when you did beat people, they obviously made us feel like that's what's expected, but they made you feel good about it. They were like, hey, like, don't feel like you being undrafted means you're not good enough. You just beat a guy who's a 9-year vet. This guy was a second-round draft pick.
Nice. Okay, Jack, what's next?
Okay. September 10th, 2017. You sack Colts quarterback Jacoby Brissett for a safety. Did you make a safety or a touchdown in college?
What was that? You cut out. Sorry.
Did you make a safety or a touchdown in college?
I did have a safety in college. I didn't. I wanted a touchdown. I never got close. We were playing Mesa, and it was actually awesome because it was after I'd hurt my elbow, and it was a couple games later. We're playing Mesa, and me and their O-line. I was a little chippier in college than I am now. I talked a little bit more trash. And me and their O-line were getting into it because they were holding me and the rest were letting it go. And I was getting pretty upset about it. I said some things to them. The O-lineman chipped back. So the next play, I buried the tackle over his own legs and then sacked the quarterback in the end zone. And that was my only points in college. That was my safety.
What is the difference doing something like that? I think the Colts sack of Jacoby, you're on the road when that happened, weren't you?
No, so that was in LA. And I don't think it was a sack because what happened was Corey stripped it. I think it was a run play, and Corey stripped it, and it's the highest I've ever seen a ball fly on someone ripping a ball out of someone. And Corey launched this ball, and none of us could find it. And all of a sudden, we just see it bounce. And we're all sprinting to the end zone. And Jacoby, it's funny, I trained with Jacoby coming out, so I knew him. And then he dove on it in the end zone, and I just tagged him down and got the safety. But
it's in the books as a safety, man.
I wish it was a sack. I tried to argue for the sack, and they told me no, it was a run play, so I couldn't get it.
Oh, that sucks. What's the difference? I know you talked about, Sam Houston had 15,000. I think when the Thunderbolt's full, it's close to 10, maybe 12 with the folks that are on the north side. What's that first experience in a stadium where there's 70, 75, 80,000 people?
Nuts, because we played the first preseason game we played was the first game back in LA in I think 20 years. So there was, I think they said almost 100,000 people. It was 101 or 90 something thousand people.
Is that at the Coliseum?
That was at the Coliseum.
Okay.
So cool, the historical Coliseum and or historical stadium. I apologize. And they, I'm coming from an average of 5,000 people a game to there's almost 100,000 people or 100,000 people at this game screaming. And I'm on the opening kickoff. I'm on kickoff return, just looking like this is the real deal.
Nice. That is, I can't imagine. That's an unreal experience. What else?
Good.
You got any other questions, Jack?
Hold on. I dropped my paper. Let me get it.
Okay. Pick her up, buddy.
There we go. Okay. Have you seen the new stadium yet?
I've flown over it a bunch. I haven't seen it. When everyone got to go see it, I was right after I got hurt.
So where are you at now? So you tear the ACL.
Mm-hmm.
So you're rehabbing, and I mean, what's the plan?
Oh, well, so I tore my ACL 2 years ago, and then I played last season, and now I'm a unrestricted free agent. So I'm just waiting on to see how this is going. The virus has kind of made things real difficult for mid-tier guys like myself. So can't really go to get workouts in with other teams because we can't go to facilities. It's hard to be evaluated. And so, but I mean, things are looking good. So we're just kind of waiting on the phone call.
So are you talking to people then? Like, is the league, are you guys even allowed to be communicating, or how does that work?
Oh, I mean, we all talk to each other all the time. I mean, our agents, like my agent talks to GMs and teams all the time. That's kind of his realm. They're allowed to talk and make deals, but it's just, like the physical stuff, just, to try to encourage, the physical distancing as well as, trying to not get teams sick, because we're so close together, and God forbid someone walks to an airport and gets it and, gives it to someone else unknowingly, and now you got a whole problem.
Does that make the staying in shape, is that a little harder?
It is and it isn't. I'm fortunate enough, my agent hooked me up with a guy who got me I got a whole weight set in my garage now, so I can train almost as like I was at the facility, and then, just try to work out and get cardio where you can and do the best things you can.
Nice. All right, Jack, you got anything else?
Yes. So, according to EA Sports, your Madden rating is 71.
Uh-huh.
How do you feel about that?
I'm glad it's not in the 60s. After being hurt for a whole year, I'm glad it's not in the 60s.
Yes.
So I'm not gonna complain about that.
The only major drop that happened was in week 13 when your awareness dropped by 2.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that your awareness dropped at all. Don't buy that one bit.
How they do those ratings, so they can keep me at 71. It's cool. I'll just get it up another year.
And you
Awesome.
were at 71 for the whole thing.
Hey, as long as I didn't go down.
Yeah, you didn't go down. The only thing that went down was in awareness.
It's all right.
And
it's hard to see everything.
Yep. And I'm a Madden junkie, so I follow pretty much every player when it comes to Madden.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Morgan, we appreciate you taking some time chatting with us. I hope this thing clears up. You get signed, and we'll get to watch you play football here, hopefully in the fall.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, y'all have a good one.
You too, but thank you.
Thank you. Bye.